blocks for my upcoming project for quilting. So I'm going to be cutting out some Drunkard's Past quilt blocks today. Okay, there we go. Just trying to get my little laptop set up so I can see the chat. All right. This is my design, my Drunkard's Past quilt design that I have drawn out on graph paper. So when I do my design out my quilts, I do it on graph paper so I can, design it out and mark the space for the different prints and all that and mark my patches. So here are these little colored, I use the colored pencils to, map out how, for each little 4 patch. So this is a 16 patch, meaning it's a total of 16 squares, 4 going across, 4 going down. So this is my first 4 patch, second 4 patch, third 4 patch, and fourth 4 patch. And I pull a dot in these squares to let me know that I've already, I already have the blocks for that. So for this block right here, if you can see it, for this block right here, I have this already done. Okay, and then for this block right here, and this is the dark fabric, the red fabric. This is my white candy cane fabric. So we're working with 2 fabrics. That's this right here. This Drunkard's Past quilt block right here is for this one right here. Okay, so now we are about to cut the quilt block for this one. So we have red. No, this is the candy cane print and this is the red print. So on this block, I'm going to position it like this. Let's make sure the top is at the top. Okay, that's the top. Okay, so then I'll position, and this is my template that I'm using. This is the template that I'm using. The finished size of the block will be 4 inches. So as I stated, what we're going to cut, I already have the Drunkard's Past cut out for this block. So now I'm finna cut out the Drunkard's Past for this block. This is my white candy cane print. This area represents that. And for this area is the red print. So first we're gonna cut out this piece. So then we would position our template like this. Okay? So you can see how this coincides with this. So now I'm on a rotating cutting mat. I can just, you kind of hold it and then rotate it around. Like that. And then when you're working with curves, you use this small size rotary cutter. And so we will, and I kind of do that to make sure, and I kind of cut above this so you can see how when I go, and then and then you want to cut with your fingers off the cutting mat for so you can kind of secure what you're doing. Move that back. So I'm trying to make sure that you all can properly see the template. Trying to Just trying to rotate it around to make sure you all can see the whole template in the shot. And then this chat, this what I'm looking on this laptop is kind of delayed. Let's go all the way up again. Okay. Still trying to make sure that y'all can see the whole template in the shot. Let me see. Okay. We need to move over some. It still is what we need to do. Let me see. Yep. So we need to go over this way more. Okay, we're getting it. Let's make sure y'all can see the whole template. Okay, we good. Okay, so as I stated, we're cutting this square right here. We're cutting the Drunkard's pad quilt blocks for this square right here. So we have the white is going to be right here and the red is going to go right here. So and you use this little rotary cutter, and that kind of, you can rotate it and kind of go around this curve. You can go on around and we cut out first little, and I use this piece for scraps. Okay. So that was this piece right here. This was this square right here. So then we're gonna rotate our mat around, and then you take the template down, and you can kind of see how this coincides with the way that's looking. So we have that cut out. Now we're going to take a red square and cut out the other piece. Ooh. Okay. So now we'll take our red square and make sure, see this horizontal line, make sure that's the crosswise line, so make sure that's at the top. And take our red square. 1 second. Okay. We have our red square. And then we're going to cut out this piece right here, which is represented by this template. So then I pull up I have my red square. And we're doing this one. So then I would take this red square and put this on here like this. And you can see how the way this template is set up on this red square is represented by this piece. Because you have to rotate this these templates around on the square before you cut it, so that to make sure that when you go and put your layout together, the grains are going in the proper direction, like crosswise grains going side to side, long lengthwise grains going up and down. You have to you have to make sure that you're positioning the template right on the fabric. Okay, so now we're going to cut this piece. And what I like about this rotating mat is that it rotates. And then you can put your little finger off for like an anchor to help this ruler not to move. And make sure you have a small rotary cutter. Ooh, it's trying to move. Okay. There we go. So now we have, you can save this for either a starter scrap, or you probably can get some 1.5 inch squares out of this. So hold on to that, don't throw that away. Oh, okay. Alright, so now we have this piece cut out, which is represented by this on my little design graph. That's this piece right here. So you can see how this piece coincides with how that looks. So then if we bring out, see, you can see that is represented back here. Okay, now we're gonna cut out this one right here. So now we need a white square. White square. And you see that little pencil mark or the little T's, that represents the top. That means the fabric is, the square is positioned like it's supposed to be positioned. So now we're about to cut out the square for this position right here. So we'll bring our template back and lay it down like that. And again, this is the Drunkard's Pad. We're cutting Drunkard's Pad quilt blocks. If you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe to my channel, like this video and all that. So now we're finna cut this square for, cut the Drunkard's Pad blocks for this one. So, put our little hand, put our secure, and then just cut it. And go up some so, you know, you can have a clean look area too when you go to do this. Do this, try it flatten. Keep going. Always make sure you're cutting away from yourself. Never towards yourself. Always away from yourself. Yeah. Now you can see how this coincides with the square in this position right here. So we just cut this area. Now we're finna take the red fabric and cut this area. Then I'm gonna put a little T for the top. So I know the top. And when you mark on the back, make sure you mark in the seam area. Okay, so we got that. Now we need our red square. And see that horizontal line represents the top. This is horizontal to the crosswise grain. So it's in its position right for sure. And then we bring our other piece. As I stated, we're finna cut this area. Okay. So we would take our template and put it on here like this. And you can see how the way this template is positioned on this red fabric, that it's representing this area right here. Okay, so we're gonna cut that out. See, I can rotate my mat around so that I'm cutting away from myself and then rotate it back around. So I feel like this is one of my better investments in my quilt. Alright, we got that. And say this to cut out more pieces or a scrap or something. So now you can see how this piece is represented by this area right here. So then see if the top, okay, top is already marked. So now we bring this and put this with this. It's represented by this area right here. Okay, so we have this. All right. All right. Now we're about to cut this one. You can see this area right there. So we'll bring in our red square. Okay. And then we're going to take our template and lay it on here like this. So as you see, you have to lay your template out based on the position on the design. So then I can rotate this around so that I'm cutting away from myself. Then you can rotate it back and mark it and all of that. So we have this, and then I can just do up a little bit more. All right, and rotate it and go around. Here it is giving us a problem. And then cut this. Okay. Leave it on there, and then you can rotate this back around so that you can see how this piece is represented by this area right here. It's represented by that. Then I want to make sure I have the top marked. Okay, it's marked, that's fine. So we'll put that over here. Then we're gonna bring in our white print to represent this area right here. This area right here is where we're going to cut out that white print, candy cane print. So we'll lay our square out. You can see the little T's for the top. Okay, and then we'll take our template and lay it on here like this. And then we just cut this whole, rotate it. So that you're cutting away from yourself. All right. So now we cut this one, and this piece represents this area right there. That white area right there is represented by this piece. Okay, so now I can show you how it looks that we cut out all the pieces. So then this is this with this. Okay. And then this is this. And it's not gonna go together perfectly because we haven't, sewn it together, but I'm just putting it together to give you an idea of how it looks. just with the pieces cut. And this is one of the ones I had already made. So you can kind of see how that's going to go together for when we sew this patch together. So these are the Drunkard's Pass quilt blocks for my first patch. So that's represented by this patch right here. It's represented by these pieces. Okay. So we'll put that over. And we'll start out now next patch. Okay, so now we're going to do this patch right here. Okay, we're going to start off with this area. This area is what we're going to start off with. So first we're going to get our white fabric, our candy cane fabric. Okay, we got that. And we got this. So that's how we're doing what we're doing this time. And you can see how the way it's positioned on here represents this area right here. So we're going to cut. And save these pieces that you're cutting, because you can use them to cut like 1 inch squares, 1.5 inch squares, or something like that. Or you may be able to get a 2 inch square, if you're lucky, a 2.5 inch square, or use it for starter scraps, or however you want to do it. So now we're going to cut this piece. So we're going to rotate. Rotate so you're cutting away from yourself. You have to be careful with the rotary cutters, because baby, they will get you. I be seeing folks online like, baby, how you do that? You have to pay attention and don't just be, you know, you're never supposed to be cutting towards yourself. That's never supposed to happen. And then that should keep you from running into any problems with dealing with these rotary cutters. You don't not see me cutting towards myself. I'm cutting away from myself. You just keep on rotating so that you're continuing to be cutting away from yourself. Okay, so let's see how this piece goes like this. Okay, so now you can see that how this represents this area right here. Okay, so then we got that. Make sure the top. Okay, that's good enough. All right, so we got that piece. Okay. Now we're finna cut the Drunkard's Pass block for this area right here. So we're gonna need to bring some red fabric in, red print in. Okay, and then we're going to do this. Position it on here like this. And then you can see how the way this Drunkard's pad template is positioned on this red fabric, that it represents this area right here. That's what I'm about to cut, the piece for that area. Okay. So then we can rotate it around so we're cutting away from ourselves. Now that I positioned the template in the right way on the fabric, we can rotate it and cut away from ourselves. All right. And whenever you work with curved quilt pieces, I always use a small rotary cutter like this. See, that's a small one, so you have a good chance of not hurting yourself. You don't want to hurt ourselves. That's definitely not the goal. Okay, so let's rotate this back around. Okay. So that represents this piece represents this area right here. So if I bring in that's the bottom. It's still a crosswise grain, but just making sure. So then this piece, put this piece together, this Drunkard's pad quilt block together, and this Drunkard's pad quilt block together. And represent this block here. See that piece represents this piece and this piece. So we have that. Okay, so now we're going to cut out the Drunkard's pad quilt blocks for this area here. So first we're going to get our red fabric, then we'll get our white fabric. So let's bring in our red fabric. Let's bring in our template. And we're going to cut the red, the Drunkard's pad quilt block for this area right here. Okay, so let's do that. So we can rotate our mat around again. Cut it. And thanks to everybody that stopped by. Make sure you like the video. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Hi everybody, thanks for stopping by. Just cutting out some Drunkard's Path quilt blocks for my upcoming project. This is definitely for Christmas. Let's see how this one is supposed to be. Let's rotate it back around. No, that's not the proper way. It's this way. So that one is represented by this area right here. That dark block right there. Okay. So we have that. Okay, so that's good. Now we're going to cut out the Drunkard's Path quilt block for this area here. We'll bring in our white print, lay it down, and bring our template in. About to cut this piece this way. This one is positioned this way for this square. The template is positioned like that for this square. And you can see that this area right here is represented by the template positioning like this on the square. So then we're going to rotate it around. And get ready to cut. And always, like I said, always make sure that you are cutting away from yourself. So we're going to cut this one out. See, I ball my fist up so that you ain't cutting yourself. Bring them hands back, because we don't want no accident. So we got that. And then we'll rotate this back around. And you can see how this piece is represented by this area here. Okay. Mark my crosswise green. It's at the bottom, but it's still crosswise. Mark that piece. Okay. So then we can take these two blocks and see these two Drunkard Path quilt blocks and see how they're represented by this area right here. Nope. This area right here. And you look at that. That's that. And that's that. This one represents this. This one represents this. So we got that done. Alright. Now we're finna cut the blocks, the Drunkard's Path quilt blocks for this area here. Okay, so we can bring in our white first. We'll bring in our white square first. Okay. And then we'll bring in our template and position it like this. And we can see that it's represented by this area here. So now we're about to do this block. This is represented by this area here. So we're going to cut this out. Pull up my chip. Hi everybody. Alright, so now we're going to cut this piece. Then I rotate it around so I'm cutting away from myself. I will cut. Let's clean it up some. Alright, so now we have this piece cut. And it is represented by this piece right here. Represents that. So if I pull this template away, then you can see how this represents this is represented by this area here, represents that. This is that. Okay, so we'll move that out of the way. And I'll bring our red fabric in. Bring this one in. Lay it down like this. Okay. So that's how we're doing this is how we're doing the template this time. Trying to make sure y'all can see it good. Okay, so this one is represented by this area here. We just cut that, now we're about to cut this piece. So we're going to rotate that around. to cut. And make sure we're cutting away from ourselves. So just that. Cut, then turn, and just go along the little inside. And then cut this. And hopefully this pulls back clean. I really want to do what's right. And then do that. Still ain't doing this right. I'm gonna keep trying. Okay, there we go. Just clean that up some. And we'll rotate this around. Okay, so then this one represents this area right, this dark area right here. And then if we bring this other block in, Drunkard's pad block in, you can kind of see how these two Drunkard's pads, quilt block, go together, represent this area here. And look at that. So you can see how they go together. Move these two pieces back. Now we're about to cut the quilt blocks, Drunkard's pads, quilt blocks for this area right here. So we'll start with our red piece. We'll start with the red piece, then we'll do our white piece. So let's bring in a red fabric. And we'll cut that. Okay, we'll cut our red piece. We got that. So then we need this piece on here. We're gonna cut this piece. So let's cut this piece. We rotate it so we cutting away from ourselves. Just rotate it as necessary because you know you can rotate it back to the original position. So we don't have that to worry about. Alright, so let's see what we have here for this piece. Is represented by this area here. So you can kind of see how this area represents this area. So we got that piece. And we're going to bring in a white print. to represent this area here. So you can look at that area and see how it's represented by this. So then we're going to rotate this mat around so we're cutting away from ourselves. Just cut away from yourself. Let's see if this was a good one. That was pretty good. Okay, so we got that. It's represented by this area here. It's represented by this. Pull that back and you can look at that, see that, and then bring this piece in. And you can see how these two Drunkard's Path quilt blocks represent this area here. Okay. So now we have all blocks cut for our second patch. You can see. Alright. And then this. This, and these. Okay. You can see how this represents this patch, 4 patch here, right here. It's represented by these Drunkard's Path quilt block. You can kind of imagine it. So we have our the quilt blocks cut for our second 4 patch. Now we're going to our third 4 patch. Get these blocks out the way and move on to the next. Okay. Now we're about to cut out the Drunkard's Path quilt blocks for this 4 patch area right here. Okay, we'll start with that white print. So we'll bring in our candy cane print. And it there. Trying to make sure you all can see the whole square in the shot. Okay. So then we'll bring in our template. Position on here like this. Okay. And then that represents this area here is what we're about to cut for this Drunkard's Path quilt block. You can rotate it around and rotate it back. Rotate that. Give us a hard time right here, huh? We'll get it. Okay, now can clean it up some. Then cut this piece. Alright, that's it. Clean it up down there. Alright. Okay, let's see where we're cutting this one. Okay, so we can see how this one represents this area here. This white area. That's our candy cane print. So we got that. Pull this back and see how this area represents that. Okay. So we can move this one out the way and get ready to cut the area for this, the Drunkard's pad template for this area right here. Okay, so we're gonna bring in some red. We bring in red. Alright, and we'll position our template like this on our red. Right, so you can see how it's positioned on that represents this area here. So we'll cut this out. Rotate it around. So like I said, so that we're cutting away from ourselves. Always want to be cutting away from yourself. Never towards yourself. Always, no matter what. Okay, we'll cut that piece out. Then we can rotate it around. Okay, move the template away. And you can see how this Drunkard's pad quilt block represent the area there. And then if we bring in the other piece, you can see how it goes together. Like this. This block here represents that. Okay, so we got this piece. Make on now next one. Okay, now we're finna do the blocks, Drunkard's pad quilt blocks for this area here. So first we get our red. We'll cut our red. Okay. And we'll position our template. Like this. To represent this one. So now we're about to cut the Drunkard's pad quilt block for this. Okay, so let's do that. Rotate, so we're putting away from ourselves. And then we'll cut this side. Then we'll rotate our block around, Drunkard's pad block around. And now you can see how this block represents this area here. Right here. Now we're finna cut out this piece. So we have this one, move it out the way. Then we're gonna bring in our white print. Lay it down like this. And this one represents this area here. That white area right there is what we're about to cut. Just rotate it around. Thanks everybody for stopping by. Please make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. I really would appreciate it, and thank you so much. I'm just trying to give me a hard time. Let's go a little light with the cutter. There we go. Alright, so we got this piece cut. Move it back. And you can see how this is represented by this area here. So if I bring this red block back in, this Drunkard's Path quilt block back in, you can see how these two go together like this. This piece here, these two, is that. So we can move this one out the way. Okay. So now we're about to do this one, the two blocks, but this one we'll do our white block first, then this dark represents our red block. So let's bring in our white block. Make sure you all can see the whole square in the shot. Okay, so now we're going to do this one. Okay, we're going to cut this one in this position, and it's represented by this piece here, the area here. We're doing this piece, then we'll do this piece. Okay, so let us cut. Making sure you all can see the whole square in the shot. Okay. So let's cut this piece. Alright, we got this piece cut. Okay, so we cut that. We'll template back. And this piece represents this area here. Is represented by this piece, this area. Okay. And we'll bring our red piece in, red square in to cut out Drunkard's Path quilt block. This one right here. represented by this area here. Is what we're about to cut. This dark area here. We just cut this area. We're about to cut this area. Okay. Okay, we're about to cut this in one hot second. Alright, let's cut this one. Make sure you all can see the whole square in the shot. Yeah, seems you can. So that's good. Alright, we cut that piece. Okay. So this one is this. So then we move this back. So this represents this area here. And then we can bring this in so you can see how they're going to go together. And then you can see that. It's these two pieces. Okay. Alright, so now we're going to do this piece right here is what we're about to cut. We'll cut our dog fabric first, then we'll cut our white fabric. So let's bring in our red. Okay. This piece right here. So let's cut this one. Rotate it around. So we're cutting away from ourselves. We're going to cut. Make sure you can see the whole square in the shot. Okay, yeah. Okay, let's cut this one. got that. It was pretty easy, huh? Let's see. So we just cut this one. This represented by this area here. This, you can look at that. Okay, so we can move this back. And then we're going to bring in the white print to cut the next one. Alright, we'll cut this. That's what we're about to cut. Straighten this square. Seems like it's not really straight. It should be. I'm going to put this up here. So we're about to cut this piece for this area. Okay, let's cut out Drunkard's pad quilt block. I'm going to rotate our mat around. Make sure you got the holes square in the shot. And we do. So let's cut this one. Okay, so this piece. Pull this back. And you can see how this piece represents this area here. Then I can bring that other piece back in. And you can see that, how that goes together. So that's represented by this block. It's represented by this. Okay? So now we have a few more to cut and then we're done. And I will be doing a long form video on the layout, so look out for that. That'll probably show up on Thursday. I already have 3 videos that will go up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So this will be Thursday's video. Alright, so now we're going to, I already have this block sewn together, so we have to do this one, this one, this one, and we're done. So let's do this one. First we're going to bring in that white print. So let's do that. So this is the print that we're about to cut for this area here. Okay, so let's bring our template in and position it like this on here. Okay, so you can see how that's positioned on there. And this is going to be represented by this piece here, this area here, this white area here. We're about to cut that. And we'll rotate it around so we're cutting away from ourselves. Alright, we got that piece cut. So then, it's represented by this. So we can pull it back and see how this is represented by this area here. So now we're going to bring our red in. A red square end to cut. We'll bring that one in. Alright. So we'll cut this one. And it's like this. So this is the one for this one. And this one represents this area here. We're about to cut it. Okay, this piece. Clean it up some. Alright, we can pull this back. And see that this Drunkard's pad quilt block represents this area here. And then we're going to put that so you can see how they go together. Like that. But you know it's not going to be perfect because it's you haven't sewn them together. But see these two? And then that area there represents this right here. So we'll move these out the way. Alright. Alright, now we're going to cut the pieces out for this square right here. So we'll start with the white print. Alright, and then we're doing this one. Okay, so this one is represented by this area here. This is what we're about to cut. We'll rotate this around and rotate it back once we get it cut. So that's that. And then we can move that back so you can see how this block represents this area here. This Drunkard path quilt piece represents this area here. Now we'll cut that. Bring in our red. Bring in this piece. We're about to cut this area here. That dark area that represents our red print. Okay, so we have that. And you can see how this represents this area here. And we have our other block and bring in, see how they go together. So these two represents these two. So we'll move these out the way. Okay, so now we're gonna do these two. We'll start with the red. Make sure you can see the whole block in the shot. Start with the red. So that's that. And that's represented on this represents hold on. We got this block. We doing this one. Hold on. Hold on. Okay, we already got hold on, am I doing this one when I already have the block for this one? That's that. We're about to cut this. Okay, I already got this block cut for this, but since I already did it. That's 1, 2, 3. This the fourth patch. This, that, and we're about to cut the block. Let's see. We're about to cut this block. Okay, so let's cut that. Hold on. But I thought. Hold on. Hold on, cause I think I already got. I got that. I got that. I got that. Oh, I already got. Oh. Oh, no, no, no. I don't have. Oh. I don't have the whole block. I only have this right here cut. So this is the square I don't have to cut because I already got this one done. But I do have to cut this one. And then these two pieces are my left. I just gonna say, what's going on? Okay, now I figured it out. We got one block cut, which is just, I had this one already sewn together and this one already sewn together. So these two are already sewn together. So this right here is the last one I had to cut. So I had to cut this piece, then this piece. Okay, I'm just gonna say, what's going on? Okay, we got it. We figured it out. Let's turn this one around. Then we're gonna cut this one. Make sure you can see the whole square in the shot. Okay, you can see it. Alright, so let's cut this one. So we got this, which is represented by this. So we got this one cut. That's represented by this piece here. Now we have to cut this piece. Okay, so we'll bring this out the way. And then bring in the white square. Okay, then position this like this. And we're cutting this piece. And that's the last piece I gotta cut because I already got the two pieces for this block sewn together. So this is the last piece I have to cut. Drunkard's pad quilt block I have to cut. Alright. Okay. Alright. That's our final piece. And then you can see how these two pieces go together. And it represents this area here. It's represented by these two pieces. And then we can pull these two pieces back. And we already got this piece, Drunkard's pad, put blocks sewn together for this area here. Represents this that's already sewn together. Okay. So that's all our Drunkard's pad quilt blocks. So now you know how to sew. Now you know how to cut out Drunkard's pad quilt blocks. And when you go to sew them together, let's just get two of these pieces. Let's just say this one, I will fold this in half for this piece that looks like this. Fold this in half this way. And then, so you have that little part that marks the middle. And then this piece right here, cut these two little ends off. For this piece here, and I just cut that, I fold this wrong sides together for this piece. Wrong sides together, this piece right sides together. Then you have you're gonna make in two creases, and you just line the creases up and pin it right there, and then just bring it up, pin, bring it up, pin. I use a lot of pins. Some people only mark pin this position, this position, this position, but I use a whole lot of pin. And then once you pin together, you sew it together using a 1/4 inch seam. You know, I would put my 1/4 inch presser foot on my machine and sew them together. Now this ain't. So let me show you how you would go about pinning it together. Now this may not go together perfectly because technically these are not the pieces that I've been cutting, but I want to show you all kind of how you would go about pinning it together before you go to sew it together. Okay, so we have this. Okay, so then we have this, and we got the creases together. I would pin it in the middle, right here. Okay, then I would bring this one up to meet this over here. Pin this right here. Like this, and pin it. And then some people then you would take this one and pin this over here. And this is not gonna be perfect because these are not the pieces that I cut with the template. I'm just doing this to take a full circle for you so that you're not stuck just cutting out a piece. Then I would just pin it together. Then I would go in to do that. Pin the rest of it. Once I pin the middle side and side, I would go in to add more pins like this. And like I said, I use a whole lot of pins. I don't put just 3 pins. And I found out that, and I don't put slits in, because I wasn't taught to put slits in it. So like you saw those slits in that template, I don't put slits in my Drunkard's Path quilt blocks. If you pin it good and sew it good, you should be able to make a smooth, fold a smooth seam over to the dog print. And so this is just how I pin it together. These crooked pins, some of them I pin them, they get crooked because I be pinning my bands. When I pin my band, they turn crooked. I have some, they not all crooked, but like that. And then just bring it up, meet the edges together and pin all the way around. And make sure you like my video, subscribe to my channel, then you go on, pin all the way down, all the way around, shall I say. It's going together pretty good for it not to be the 2 pieces that I cut, 2 pieces that were like that I'm using in the Drunkard's Path quilt project. These are just 2 of the scrap pieces, but they're going together pretty good to be scrap pieces, huh? Now you just take your time and pin. I'm the type of person that use a lot of pins. Some people don't use a lot of pins, but I use a lot of pins. And some people pin it together the opposite way. So they would have the other piece on top of me. I have this piece I have on top. It's the way I do my Drunkard's Path quilt blocks. And once you get them all cut out, this is how you pin them together. And just bring it up. Bring up the edges and pin. You got to come up some, huh? Let's see. Have to make sure that the edges come up to meet. So right here we seem to be trying to run into a little problem. Okay. So once I cut my Drunkard's Path quilt blocks out, this is how I pin it together. Let me see, I got that whole thing in the shot. Yeah. And then once you pin it, you sew it. And don't go fast. Take your time and just do a little bit at a time. Just feed the curve in a little bit at a time, not fast at all. And if you doing it by hand, okay, so that's what you would feed it through you would put your 1/4" presser foot on and feed this in. Start with this end, just feed it in a little bit like that. Line it up with the edge of the presser foot. Now, if you don't have to mark the back if you're using a 1/4" presser foot. Let's say if you're doing it by hand, then you're gonna have to get some of that clear plastic and lay it down, and you're gonna have to create a template to mark your piece if you're doing it by hand. So once you would lay your template down on the plastic, and I don't know if you all can see this line. I don't know if you call it this broken line or whatever you would call it. It's what you would put this on the edge of your template, just like this, and then you would this little line. If you can see this little hyphenated line, shall I say, a broken curved line, this the line that you would draw for your seam line. And then once you put that take that template and mark this seam line around. You will lay it on your block and then draw that pencil down that block like this. So this should be on this line right here, should be on the edge of the template, because you're going to have this area right here is your seam area. So this is going to go on the edge of the template, and you will draw it around so that you can come back and draw your seam line. Okay, and then you look at this piece. You would do this for the same for your piece. This is curve is going to go on the edge of that template. So when you lay it down, you draw against this line of the template, and there's your seam line to sew down. So it's not going to be this. You're not going to cut when you go to cut the template for the seam. It's not going to be the same size, cause from here, from this area to this area, it's going to be not on a template, because that's your seam line. You're going to sew. You want to create a template to draw your seam line. So this part is not going to be a template. This is going to be this curve, this seam line. If you're doing it right, the edge of this seam line is going to be the edge of the template. Okay, you won't have to do that. You can just mark this straight edge with your regular ruler that you use to mark your seam line. But for this curve, you're going to need to make a plastic template, or however you want to do it. But I use a template for when I do it. When I learned to quilt 20 years ago, we had 2 templates for each one of these pieces. We would have one template that was this exact same size and this exact same size. Then you had to have another, that's what you use to cut, right? Then you're going to have another template to mark your seam line. So then, like I said, this slotted line, this hyphenated line, is what you're going to have to take if you're by hand to mark your seam line. And this seam, that curved seam, you're going to have to create a template to mark that seam line. That's all I'm saying. That's if you're doing it by hand. Of course, if you're doing it by machine, you got your 1/4-inch foot, you got to mark these pieces. But if you're doing it by hand, you're going to have to you can use this to cut the piece. This piece and this piece. But you're going to, and I wish they had another piece to mark the seam line. So if you're a quilt shop, if you are a quilt shop, I want you to listen to me very closely. For the people who are hand quilters, they do hand quilt, or they're going to do their Drunkard's pad quilt block by hand, they need 4 pieces, because you're going to need these 2 pieces. Then if you're doing it right and people are paying money and all that, you need, do right by them. So just to save them time and effort, if the quilt shop, or if the vendor, or if whoever's selling the template gave you all that, then you will be set, because you will use you need one template to cut the pieces out. Then you're going to need another template to mark that curved seam line. Okay, but the thing about it, even if they gave this nice quality piece to do the cutting, because that's the sturdy piece, even if they came back with the little clear template for the seam line, would help, and that would be a less expensive piece than this piece. But it's still, as a person who want to do it, you have what you need. You have this piece, then you need 2 more pieces just to mark the seam line. So yeah, that's somebody somewhere can make some money off of. If you're not doing it, or if you're the kind that like to go the extra mile, you could do that for people so that they have everything they need in order to be able to not only cut the block but to mark the seam line. So I need the quilt shops to come up with the other two pieces that people need to mark these pieces for the seam line. You need that because this seam line right here is not doing me any good if I don't have anything to draw it against. That's all I'm saying. So I don't know how you would do that line without having another template. So it's another template that people need actually. So y'all need to subscribe to my channel just because I just said that. Because yeah, you need two more people. I've been into quilting. I started in 2003, so this makes 22 years. So I didn't just pull this out of rabbit hat. I know what I'm talking about. People need two more templates. You need that seam template. So you mark this as the cutting template. Then you need another template for the seam template so that you can mark that. If you can see how they gave you the guide, they got it marked on the template, but that line not doing you any good because I can do this line right here. I can't do this line right here. So yeah, you need that other template. Unless, like I said, you're gonna make it yourself. So you can either we'll wait for the quilt shops or the vendors or the sellers to come up with the two missing templates, the seam templates, what I call it. Until they do that, you're gonna need to get you some of that clear plastic that quilters use to cut out templates. And technically, you don't have to buy this template. You can take the plastic, that template plastic, or those plastic rectangles that they sell to cut templates and cut out four. You need this piece to cut the block, this piece to cut the block. Then you're gonna have to create another piece to mark your seam line. So technically, you need 4 pieces. You need 2 templates for each piece. You need this template to cut the block, and the other template to cut the seam line. This piece to cut the little for this one, and then the curved another template to mark your seam line. That's all I'm saying. So I've given you all lots of helpful information. Probably more information that you get on other channels. So I need you all to, I'm thankful, just subscribe, watch more of my videos so that you can be a good quilter. Like I said, I've been quilting 20 years, so I have lots of knowledge to share. And again, this is how I pin before I go to sew it together. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel. Please go and watch my other videos. I'm really trying to get my watch hours up as soon as possible. I'm over 1,000 subscribers, so I have that mission accomplished. My next accomplishment or mission to accomplish is to get those 4,000 watch hours so I can really say I'm in the YouTube universe. But other than that, I'm just still, kicking out content, grinding on my content to get to where I'm trying to be. I really thank you all for watching this video. Like I said, please subscribe. Please share my video. If it's a helpful video, then subscribe. You feel like my videos are helpful, go and subscribe. If you feel like they're worth sharing, share my videos. And, it's good to watch my live videos because I go in detail so that you all really will be able to grasp the concept and go and make a quilted item on whatever I'm talking about at the time. So yeah, I'm liking the way my Drunkard pad quilt blocks are looking. So I'm pretty sure this is going to be a nice little patchwork placemat when I get everything sewn together and all of that. So thanks for watching. Subscribe. subscribe, subscribe, subscribe some more. Share, share, share. Like the video. Comments. Watch my, not only watch my videos, comment on my videos, okay? Ooh. Hold on, I'm trying to do something before I end this video. Hold on, y'all. I'll try to see what I got done. I got to undo this. Undo it. Ooh. There we go. Hold on, y'all. I'm finna do the reveal. Trying to do right by y'all and stay with me and all that. So I'm about to show you all. We're about to do the big reveal of what we did today. Right? Gotta do that. Gotta make that happen. Hold on. Okay, let's get ready to do the big reveal. Reveal, reveal, reveal. Oh, we got some likes. I got 3 likes on this video. Thank y'all. Oh, I appreciate y'all. I really like when people like my video. I really do. We gotta do our big reveal. Let's get ready for the big reveal. Reveal, reveal, reveal. Okay, put our laptop up here. Ooh. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for everybody that said hi in chat. We appreciate all efforts. Push this mat over some. Ooh. As far as we can go. Okay. So, this is what we have. Kind of seeing how it's going to go together. So you can kind of, even though it's all it's not seamed, you can kind of see how it's going together. Okay, and I will be doing a long form video on this layout. Thanks for watching. Again, please like, share, subscribe. Check you later.